Computer Programming for Kids, Step 24, Steps on Stepping, and Breakpoint Bonanza, Part 1. Welcome back. Are you ready to step through some code on our exploratory mission to find a bug or two? We will start off by putting a breakpoint on the line of code in the next button's click event handler that calls the update %correct method. And an image is shown of that. Your first question might understandably be, what is a breakpoint? It is a point at which you want the code to break or stop when the execution of the code reaches it. The debugger will show you the spot when it gets there, waiting for you to do whatever it is you want to do. Normally, what you want to do is examine the value of some variable or variables. To insert a breakpoint, all you need to do is click in the gutter at the left, to the left of the line number where the red circle is in the image. That will add the breakpoint, which is represented by the red circle in the image. However, there's almost always a however. If we leave this as is, we will reach that breakpoint each time we click the next button, and we're not really interested in looking at it until the 9th question. There is a better way that allows us to cut to the chase. Right-click the breakpoint and select Condition, as shown here in the image. Now set it to hit count equals 9 so that the compiler won't stop on the breakpoint until the 9th time it is reached. You can do that by selecting hit count from the Add Condition dropdown, the equals sign from the dropdown to the right of that, and by entering 9 in the far right edit box. And an image of that is shown. Using this technique falls under the work smarter, not harder maxim. This way, we instruct the compiler to wait until the problem time, when question number 9 is being done, and step through it then to see exactly what is happening. So hit the F5 key at the top of your keyboard, or select Debug, Start Debugging from the menu bar, and let's see what happens. It stops at the breakpoint after I answer the 9th question and clicked the next button. So what do I do now? Since the breakpoint is on a method, update %correct, I hit the F11 key or debug step into to step into that method rather than over the call to the method, which would still cause it to run, but I wouldn't see the insides of it. What's happening there? Once I'm inside update %correct, I hit F10 to step over the lines within that method. I soon get to the call to the isAnswerCorrect method, so I hit F11 again to step into that method from the update %correct method. I step through the isAnswerCorrect method, and it seems to work exactly as it should. Back in the update %correct method, I get to an interesting part, namely where the %correct variable is assigned a value. This was not working, so it will be interesting to see what happens. I have been deliberately making a lot of wrong answers, just clicking the middle radio button each time. And so correct answers is 3, and questions answered is 9. This is as it should be. And when I step over it, the value of the %correct variable is 33.3 as it should be, 3 out of 9. So the problem is probably the next time around on the 10th iteration. We'll keep stepping. In the load next batch method, freeze answer is true, which is as it should be also. Stepping along, we get to the call to the update question number label method, which we are expecting to have some bad logic since that goes from 9 of 10 to 11 of 10. F11 into it. So we soon see that the problem is on this line, and it shows an image of that. The current question number variable is already 10, so adding 1 to it causes it to say 11, which makes no sense. because you cannot have 11 out of 10 of something. Maybe in some alternate universe, but not in the coldly logical world of compilers and debuggers. Let's ask ourselves then, who calls the update question number label method? You can find out by right-clicking on update question number label and then selecting Find All References from the context menu that displays that is shown. In other words, what are all the places in the code that call the update question number label method? It turns out that there is only one reference to it. It is only called from one place in the code. You can see that in the screenshot below, which is what we see after selecting Find All References. Right above the method, it actually says one reference, and that sole reference is shown below. Click that to go to the right spot. And this is what we see. It shows a screenshot of that. Look at that code. It's beautiful. It's true. In appearance, that is. Even if I say it, who should not say it myself. But there's an oversight made. Can you see what it is? Well, that code is basically saying, increment the index value, check if we're at the end, reset the button and radio buttons, update the question number label. If there are more questions, update the progress bar value. If there are more questions, populate the form with the next question and the candidate answers. But shouldn't the update to the question number label wait until seeing if there are more questions, as the second if statement does? Let's find out if moving the call to the update question number label method down inside the second if block does the trick. Cut and paste that call to where the arrow is pointing in the screenshot above, so that the try block now looks like this in the load next batch method. And then it shows the code for that method, part of it. Now let's run it again and see what happens. It's the same old thing again. We see question 11 of 10. So it's back to the coding board. Let's step through it again and see just where it is that question number is incremented to 10, but not shown on the screen, and then is incremented again to 11 and is displayed on the screen. But now we will put the breakpoint in a different place and set it up so that it only stops on that breakpoint when a specific value is hit. So we ask ourselves, what are we looking at that looks wrong? It's the label named label question n of n, LBL question n of n. And there's a screenshot of that also. The problem is that label question n of n ends up displaying question 11 of 10, which is manifestly bogus. So which variable is it using to display that first number, 11? It's the current question number, integer variable. Where in the code are assignments to that variable made? It's in the update question number label method, and that is shown, which is called by the load next batch method. So we will move the breakpoint to there and also have it stop on that breakpoint only when it reaches the value 9 or the hit count of 9. First, add a breakpoint in the update question number label method on the line int current question number equals question answered plus 1. Then right-click the breakpoint and select the conditions context menu item. Shows that screenshot. Set it to hit count equals 10 like so, and it shows a screenshot. Now when we run it, although the 9th time through the value assigned to current question number is 9, the next 10th time through it is assigned 11. What the hay wagon? The lazy way would be to fix the code by just looking for a current question number having a value greater than 10 and changing it to 10. But that route, taking the easy way out, although sometimes tempting, is not a good habit to get into, just like in life in general. So let's sleuth out why the value of questions answered goes from 8 in the 9th hit and is incremented, thus assigning 9 to current question number, and then it is at 10 in the 10th hit, skipping 9. The question now is then, where in the code is the questions answered integer variable being assigned to? First, it's initialized to 0 at the top of the form, and it shows that line of code. Then it is conditionally assigned to in the radio button's checked changed event handler when freeze answer is true, which only happens at the very end. And then it shows that code. And finally, in the next button's click event handler, and it shows the pertinent part of that code. So if the code makes it to the middle one, the shared by all radio buttons checked changed event handler, the questions answer variable will be set to the same value as the number of questions variable. So if questions answered was 11 prior to hitting that, it would then be set back to 10. We'll put breakpoints there and in the next button's click event handler to try to track down just what's going on here. What ends up happening is that freeze answer is being set to true too soon. The breakpoint hits this area, or hit this area, and it shows a screenshot of it, when I was on the 9th question, not the 10th and final. Thus, the if block ran, since freeze answer was true, setting questions answered from 9 to 10, and so the 10th question hadn't even been displayed yet. Yikes! Criminy! And there's a picture of somebody with faces sort of depicting those thoughts. So, where is freeze answer being set, and why is it being set to true earlier than it should be? To answer the first question, it is only assigned to in one place, here, and it shows a part or a snippet of the load next batch method where freeze answer is being assigned to. I think you're getting the point that code can be complex and convoluted, and everything seems to affect everything else. Bug hunting and squashing can be sort of like playing whack-a-mole. And it shows a picture of a person playing whack-a-mole. At this point, we don't actually need to step through the code, though, because we can see from the code above that freeze answer is being set to true right after the indexer, multiple choice class index, becomes 9. The question now is, to prevent the premature truifying of freeze answer, should we, A, remove the plus from this line of code, where the indexer is incremented before being assigned to freeze answer and being used for that reason, or B, move the line that increments the indexer to the bottom of the try block. In other words, that acronym stands for, in other words, IOW actually is what I wrote. IOW, that acronym stands for, in other words, if you're either too young or too old to be familiar with it. Should the freeze answer assignment line of code become, and then it shows that same line of code again, but with the increment part stripped out, cut out, the plus there, the plus rather, or should the load next batch method be changed to become, and then it shows the entire load next batch method, showing that the incrementation of the indexer, multiple choice class index, has been moved down below at the bottom of the code before the catch block, but after all the other code has run. Your answer? Which one do you think is right? The right way to do it? To attack this problem? Maybe you know. Or maybe you have a clue, a suspicion, or an intuition. We will find out for sure on the next exciting episode of Computer Programming for Kids. Step 25. Step on Stepping and Breakpoint Bonanza, Part 2. Until then.